The story starts with a Tsukumagami attacking Hyoma's siblings. Both of his siblings died in front of Hyoma's eyes and they used their last energies to allow Hyoma to escape. Then Hyoma was seen getting older chasing at Tsukumagami and his grandpa sealing another Tsukumagami peacefully to later send it back to the afterlife without violence. When his grandfather finished, a police force worried if Hyoma could handle the other Tsukumagami, but his grandfather believed in him, so they went to see him. When he got there, Hyoma sealed the Tsukumagami by force, which his grandpa didn't like at all. Because Hyoma always reacted immediately with violence, the reason was, he hates the Tsukumagamis. His grandfather tried to explain to him that in most cases he can solve it peacefully, because most Tsukumagami that appear new to this world are often just confused and evil spirits rarely come. Therefore, he should only use force as a last resort. But Hyoma remained stubborn, because he was of the opinion that everyone is evil, which he must eliminate immediately. So his grandfather told him about a person who lives with 6 other Tsukumagamis as a Nagatsuki family and he should live 1 year with them. Hyoma didn't want it, but his grandfather would otherwise cancel his inheritance as head of the Konato Seinon family. So the next day, Hyoma went to the Nagatsuki family and his grandfather hoped that through the Nagatsuki family he would learn not to immediately call all Tsukumagami evil. Then, members of the Nagatsuki family were seen chasing and sealing an evil Tsukumagami. When Hyoma arrived at Boten Nagatsuki's estate, he was met by Haori and Kushige. After that, the rest of the Nagatsuki family also returned, and Hyoma made a huge fuss. First he made it clear to all of them that he hates Tsukumagamis more than anything else and he doesn't trust them because his siblings was killed by one of them. Nagi tried to be friendly, but Hyoma insulted her beloved Master Boten, causing the two to fight. So the fight between the two began and Nagi was able to create swords as a Tsukumagami. Since he didn't want to kill Hyoma he attacked with the back of his sword. But the experienced Hyoma fended off the attack and used a power of the Seinon family with which he made the blades disappear. After that, Hyoma launched a counterattack and you got a message that Boten would be back from the university any moment. So everyone decided to stop Nagi and Hyoma's fight. They all aimed at Hyoma and so only Hyoma was accidentally hit, which even made Nagi feel kind of sorry. When Boten appeared, Hyoma introduced herself with the last of her strength and passed out in a faint. When Hyoma woke up, Boten apologized for the Tsukumagami's behavior and Hyoma said she didn't need to apologize as it was his own fault. He then explained to Boten more about the Seinon, that they have special powers that comes from the guardian of the boundary. After that, he insulted Boten's Tsukumagami as dangerous and, out of hatred, wanted to wipe them out immediately. This made Boten angry and sad. She cried that he was insulting his family. So she didn't want him to live in her house if he didn't get to know her family's Tsukumagami better after 3 days and get closer to them. Since Hyoma has to live here for a year to fulfill his grandpa's request, he tried to get to know the Tsukumagamis closer in order not to be thrown out of the estate. Then Nagi, who has taken a liking to Hyoma, offered to accompany him later on an assignment. Meanwhile, the kind Boten worried if her condition was too strict on Hyoma. Then Nagi told about him and his family that they belong to the special cases that are allowed to live on in this world and have to hunt and seal other Tsukumagamis. Hyoma wonders how they can calmly hunt their own breed and he tells Hyoma that they only do it to keep living with Boten. Arriving at an evil Tsukumagami, they were attacked by the arrogant spirit so the two fought him and Hyoma quickly ended the fight and sealed him. When they were on their way back, Nagi slowly gained Hyoma's trust and Hyoma told him the reason for his hatred that his older brother and sister were murdered by a paper umbrella Tsukumagami and he has hated all Tsukumagami ever since. The next day, Boten remarked that Hyoma is a very formal person. He also wanted to get everyone's signatures to pass Boten's conditions so that he could continue to live with them. When he was on his way to an assignment with Suzuri and Kagami, he got angry with the Tsukumagamis again, because Suzuri was constantly hitting on women and Kagami was buying snacks that the disciplined Hyoma didn't like at all. So Suzuri explained the reasons for her behavior and Hyoma tried to accept her. After that, when they showed up at their assignment, a very suspicious mortar-willed Tsukumagami woman stood in front of them. This time it was a good Tsukumagami, but she had to pass a test in order to be allowed to continue living in this world. Therefore, she was asked questions and then Kagami, using her powers, checked her previous past to see if she had committed no crime. She passed the exam and Suzuri wanted to take her and do the paperwork with her. So he sent Hyoma back home to the Nagatsuki estate with Kagami. At the name of Nagatsuki, the suspicious Tsukumagami launched an attack and kicked Suzuri's head off. So Hyoma reacted immediately by taking Kagami to safety and then Hyoma got angry and wanted to seal her. The Tsukumagami started crying, only freaking out at hearing the name of Nagatsuki, and Hyoma started stopping the seal. Then Suzuri regenerated his body, and so it ended peacefully. Kagami was very happy that Hyoma was able to hold back himself and said that the mortar-willed Tsukumagami can continue to live in this world because she was just a little too suspicious and is not a danger in itself. Back at their house, Hyoma trained with Kagami helping his workout. The next day evil Tsukumagamis were planning to wipe out the Nagatsuki family. We then see Hyoma preparing for the day and Boten thanks Hyoma for saving Kagami the day before. After that, Boten wished him good luck in convincing you to get him her signature. Meanwhile, the rest of the Nagatsuki family were worried if Hyoma would be able to convince you to sign her name, so that Hyoma could continue to live with the Nagatsukis. When Hyoma arrived at Yu's order, she had already sealed the evil Tsukumagamis with her powers and sent them back to the afterlife. Then, Yu made it clear to him that she hates him and Hyoma won't be able to get her signature, because in his eyes she can only see hatred towards the Tsukumagamis, and Yu gave him the option to surrender or defeat her in a fight to get her signature. So Yu attacked Hyoma with hairpins, but Hyoma just dodged and didn't want to fight with her, and Yu kept trying to provoke him with attacks. When she cornered Hyoma, he still didn't fight back, and he told her that through the experiences of the past few days, he understood the good intentions of the Nagatsuki family and he wouldn't attack them unless they gave him a reason to see them as an enemy. Then Yu stopped attacking Hyoma, and meanwhile Haori talked with Hyoma's grandfather, who hopes Hyoma can overcome his hatred of Tsukumagamis. After that, the fight between Yu and Hyoma stopped, and Hyoma wanted to know if Yu's hatred towards him was because Hyoma insulted Boten on the first day. He also asked if she loved Boten, and Yu became quite embarrassed. Then, embarrassed at his question, she attacked him with a hairpin, which hit Hyoma in his stomach. Hyoma was thrown away by her attack. In that moment the enemy Takini Tsukumagamis and the other members of the Nagatsuki family appeared. Then the enemy Tsukumagamis wanted to cause trouble, but Nagi wanted to know from Yu where Hyoma is. She answered she didn't sealed him on purpose, but the leader of the enemy Hikaki wanted to wipe out the Nagatsukis immediately. First he ordered his group to kill Hyoma, so they tried to attack Hyoma, but the Nagatsukis stopped them by fighting them. Then Nagi noticed that the enemy Tsukumagamis have been killing humans before. Hikaki immediately confessed and also mentioned that he likes to kill humans and they are just toys for them. Hyoma was sealed but could still hear their conversations, so he freed himself from the seal out of rage, and Hyoma was aroused by hatred to kill the evil Tsukumagamis' enemies. He killed the first enemy instantly. Then Hyoma dispatched all of the other enemy Tsukumagamis one by one, and Hyoma's hateful glare scared Hikaki. He then charged at Hikaki and instantly overpowered him. Suddenly his hatred of killing evil Tsukumagamis turned to joy, and everyone around him froze at the sight. Then he destroyed Hikaki, and Haori was seeing his strong hatred for the Tsukumagamis that his grandfather told her. But she still saw hope in him, since he has already shown slight changes since arriving at the Nagatsuki family. She also hoped that Hyoma, a boy who once had everything taken from Tsukumagamis, and Boten, a girl rescued by Tsukumagamis, to unite someday the relationship between humans and Tsukumagamis. In the following, Boten as a baby is seen being entrusted to the Tsukumagamis by an older man, and they became the Nagatsuki family. Then we see Hyoma, who managed to win the approval of all members of the Nagatsuki, and Boten, who was happy that he did it. Hyoma apologized for insulting her family on the first day, and she only laughed because she wasn't angry with him. So it was decided that Hyoma would live with the Nagatsuki family for 1 year. Then Boten asked if he could cook, but Haori and Yu came to see him, wanting to fulfill their dearest wish through Hyoma. She brought Hyoma into the living room, and the Nagatsuki family members welcomed him as a marriage candidate for Boten. Hyoma didn't know what to say, and Boten blushed and panicked with embarrassment. Because her family couldn't help but seek her out for potential marriage candidates, as their souls are bound in vessels from a set of wedding items. Their greatest wish has always been that Boten marries one day. Haori also said that Hyoma's grandfather already knew about it, and by collecting signatures he had the consent of all members to be a potential marriage candidate. Everyone was waiting of Hyoma's answer, and he managed to make the excuse that he had only known Boten for a short time and that he first had to get to know her better in order to make a decision about a marriage with her. Everyone was surprised at his clever answer, and Boten was embraced that they really did that. Meanwhile, outside the house, Hyoma revealed his true reaction to their question and blushed. The next day, Boten didn't know how to deal with Hyoma from now on. The whole situation made Haori happy to see her lovely Boten struggle with that. Later on, Hyoma called his grandfather in his room, and he couldn't believe that he had really planned everything with Haori. Then Hyoma went looking for Nagi and Yu, but they went without him to eliminate the evil Tsukumagamis. Boten was on his way to do some grocery shopping and she unintentionally met Hyoma. She then apologized for bothering him about the wedding and Hyoma replied that everything is fine and he wasn't worried about it. In doing so, he made her sad as Hyoma expressed it as if he dumped her and doesn't even consider her as a woman. Suzuri and Kagami heard everything and tried to make him aware of his mistake, so they told him about his misunderstanding meaning of his words. On the way to her purchase, Boten became concerned about his words and suddenly she was approached by Heinarashi, an enemy Tsukumagami of the Takemi group. Because Heinarashi's allies distracted Nagi and Yu, so Heinarashi could kill Boten. Boten tried to escape, but Heinarashi blocked it with one of his abilities. When he was about to kill Boten, Hyoma appeared out of nowhere and he cut off one of Heinarashi's arm with his special weapon. So Hyoma rescued Boten in time and he fought the evil Tsukumagami. Suddenly, Nagi and Yu also appeared jumping off a roof and they were in rage. Nagi overdoes his attack on the enemy out of concern for Boten, that his attack also hurt Hyoma and he apologized to him after the fight. When you checked on Boten, Nagi also thanked Hyoma for saving Boten in time. Then Nagi returned to the estates with Yu. Boten also thanked him for saving her. Hyoma then apologized for hurting her feelings and he encouraged her that he would not be averse to marrying her, which made her blush. Then Hyoma struggled with his words, but Boten was very happy to hear that all. In the morning Hyoma causing problems for the Nagatsuki family. Hyoma sticks talismans on everything in their area. He wanted to protect Boten from weak Tsukumagamis. Then Hyoma learns from Nagi that the talismans are far too strong, and cause them and normal humans headache. Meanwhile Hyoma's grandpa Zohei had an appointment with Haori and Kushige. They were invited to one of the most powerful Tsukumagami's place named Kai. They were in his place and Zohei, Haori and Kushige were immediately attacked by Kai with his armor abilities. Kai blocked their path and attacked Zohei, but Zohei repelled it with his Seinon weapon and demanded that Kai should stop playing games. So Kai apologized and then released his attack. He thanked the two parties for coming, and sitting next to him was Itsuki, who was also a dangerous Tsukumagami. Zohei wanted to know why she was called here and Kai answered because he was bored. Kai had a contract with the Seinon in the past, who made a contract that Kai remains trapped in this place and can order any person to come to him at any time. Haori also had great respect for Kai, as Kai has existed since the Edo period and is one of Kyoto's 3 strongest Tsukumagami. After that, Kai wanted more information since he heard that Zohei's grandson lives with the Nagatsuki family. Then Itsuki brought alcohol for the guests and Kai wanted to talk to them. When Zohei said he couldn't stay long, Kai got angry and shook the whole room. He demands that the 3 of them stay with him for a few days, so they started drinking alcohol with him. In the meantime, Hyoma collected the distributed talismans, because Nagi said that they also harmed normal people. When Hyoma only had 3 more talismans to collect, he discovered something strange about a talisman. In the meantime, Kai learned all about Hyoma and the reason why Zohei entrusted him to the Nagatsuki's family. Kai warned Zohei because each of them knew the law that no one may make use of Boten. He also said that now many parties are preparing countermeasures and Hyoma is in danger. Then Hyoma found a talisman that was destroyed and suddenly dangerous Tsukumagamis appeared. They asked Hyoma if he stuck these talismans on the wall. Hyoma replied that he is an associate of the government officials and that he himself is looking for the person who distributed the talismans to the walls. Hyoma tried to trick them, but the enemy Tsukumagami named Aogi realized he was lying. Suddenly Hyoma used the moment and he sealed instantly an enemy with the Kunado seal. He then attacked Aogi and he dodged him with his Tsukumagami ability. Suddenly Uchiki freed himself and the 2 enemy Tsukumagami, gaining control of the fight. Then Yu tried to reach Hyoma, because she wanted to help him collect the remaining talismans. Hyoma didn't answer the phone, because he was beaten up by Aogi and Uchiki under a bridge. They took him to a place where it was difficult to find him and they wanted to interrogate him. Then Hyoma wanted to try to seal them again, but Uchiki showed his ability by possessing multiple layers. So Hyoma couldn't win against them and Aogi tried to stop Uchiki from killing Hyoma. Aogi wanted to interrogate Hyoma, but Hyoma refused to give them any information, saying that he would not betray the Nagatsukis. He then called Hyoma stupid because he didn't want any information about the Nagatsukis. He wanted to know from Hyoma what the Kunados are planning. Because many suspected that the Kunados are after the power of the Yorimashi power in Boten. Hyoma didn't know anything and Hyoma thought he was just trying to trick him. Hyoma suddenly started fighting in earnest and intended to wipe out the enemy Tsukumagami. Then Hyoma was ready to wipe them out to protect his friend Boten. In that moment, Aogi understood that Hyoma really had no idea what was happening. Suddenly, you appeared, she stopped the fight and cleared up the misunderstandings. She told Hyoma that Aogi and his partner had permission for the incident, because they are also special cases that only pursued an order from Seinoms. Then they wanted to retire since they had all the information he should get. Before leaving, he told Hyoma that a stranger was watching them recently. Then Aogi said goodbye and apologized for acting so violently, even though it was just his job. Then on the way back, Hyoma was deep in thought because of Aogi's words about Boten, so he decided to learn more about her. The next day, Haori wanted to meet him and Haori decided to go on a date with Hyoma, so we see why they went to a date. It starts in the morning, that Haori came back from the meeting with Kai. Suddenly Hyoma tried to learn more about Boten, since he is bad at dealing with people and words, he caused many misunderstandings. As a result, he asked Boten questions that are very ambiguous. Boten couldn't think straight that day because she hadn't slept for several days because she had to finish writing a report for school. She ran to the university and didn't listen to Hyoma at all. Then Hyoma explained that Aogi's words made him curious about Boten. This cleared up the misunderstanding that Hyoma didn't want to make a declaration of love at all. As a result, Hyoma wanted to know everything about Boten from Haori, so that he could better protect her in the future. Kagame was unsure about telling Hyoma the truth about Boten and Haori decided to tell him all about Boten. That's how Haori made herself pretty and now he is on a date with her. When they were on their date, they watched Boten because the date was just an excuse to show Hyoma the truth of Boten. Then when Hyoma wondered why they were chasing Boten, Haori asked him to sharpen his senses. Hyoma immediately noticed the presence of countless stares from evil Tsukumagamis. They were looking from all directions aimed at Boten and Hyoma wanted to obliterate them all to protecting her. So Haori stopped Hyoma. She explained to him that Boten has been watched since she was born. And Boten is already used to it. Subsequently, Boten managed to deliver her finished report to the university on time. Then Boten was asked by her friends if she had recently met an attractive man. Boten was taken by surprise with the question and she noticed that she spoke to Hyoma earlier and that she hadn't even listened as he asked him something in the morning. After that, Haori explained that Marabitos choose objects as vessels and become to Tsukumagamis. Therefore, many suspect that when a Marabito chooses a human as a vessel, it becomes a god possessed of unthinkable powers. Also that such a being is called Yorimashi and that a Marabito slumbers in Boten and both Tsukumagamis and humans want to gain Boten's power. Therefore, there is the law don't make use of Nagatsuki Boten. When Hyoma found out everything, he wanted to make sure that Haori and the others aren't behind Boten's power. Haori laughed at his question and she remembered Boten's past, because Boten was avoided by many people as a child. Many of them thought she was strange because she always felt the looks of the Tsukumagamis. She explained to Hyoma that Boten was always very lonely and everyone thought her creepy, because normal humans couldn't feel the looks of the Tsukumagamis. Haori assured Hyoma that they never wanted Boten's power. They only wanted to make the lonely girl Boten happy and see her grow up happy. After all this time, they all developed a parental love for Boten and Hyoma understood that the Tsukumagamis of the Nagatsuki family loves Boten and pose no danger. After clearing up Boten's situation, Haori offered Hyoma to go back to his grandfather's house if he thinks the situation was too dangerous for him. Hyoma declined the offer, saying that he will always protect Boten. Suddenly Kagame appeared, she heard everything and saying that she didn't expect anything less from Boten's future husband. Hyoma became embarrassed at the statement as her husband. Then Boten appeared, who was on her way home. She wondered why the three of them are traveling together. Then Haori tried to change the subject and distracted Boten and Hyoma asked Kagame about Boten's parents and relatives. Kagame replied that she didn't know Boten's parents, but her grandfather had taken care of her and when he passed away, she didn't have any. Then they went home and Boten found out everything from Haori, that Hyoma knows about her past and everything else. Boten was afraid that Hyoma would now avoid her too, but Hyoma said he had no reason to avoid her. This answer made her happy because he accepted her as a person despite her danger. In the winter, Hyoma wanted to do his daily morning workout and Boten stopped him. She gave him a pocket warmer. Hyoma thanked her and started his workout. Suddenly Aogi appeared and Kagame sent him to Suzuri, because she doesn't like him. Aogi learned that Kagame doesn't like him, because he recently attacked and injured Hyoma. Afterwards, Aogi said that most of his employers accept the information that Hyoma is only with the Nagatsuki family to train for the time being. He also says that some groups doesn't accept the answer and are already planning countermeasures. After that, Suzuri wanted to know which groups are planning countermeasures against Hyoma. Aogi reported that 3 different groups doesn't accept that a Kunato is living with Boten. First there would be the Tsukumagami group Sojenbi, then second one of the Seinoms the Katamori group, who are among the protectors of Kyoto. The last group is the most dangerous and is one of the 3 great Tsukumagamis. It was the Bureau of Traditional Music. These 3 groups think that Hyoma is staying with the Nagatsuki family to enrich themselves from Boten's power. Aogi himself didn't know whether Boten or Hyoma would be their first target. After that, Suzuri wanted to know the guess as to who they would plan to attack first. Then Aogi replied that he had a message from the Katamori group. He gave Suzuri the written message from the Katamoris of Kyoto. After that, he left the mansion and Nagi showed up with Kagame, who thanked Suzuri for his information gathering. After that, the Nagatsuki family suspected that Aogi had more information that he didn't tell them. Aogi had one more piece of information he didn't reveal, as he recently encountered a Tsukumagami with an umbrella. She showed interest in the Kunato family and then all of a sudden she disappeared. Later on, Hyoma dressed up as he was invited to the Katamori group's mansion. Hyoma was previously informed that the leader, Taiju Katamori, is an old man that played dirty tricks. Then Hyoma was shown the fighting style of the Katamori group. As they fight against the Tsukumagami, they using talismans and are very strategic against them. Hyoma also learns that the Katamori group only consider Tsukumagami as a monster to be eliminated. Then Taiju Katamori claims that Boten and the Nagatsuki family are all monsters and he demanded that Hyoma should seal the Nagatsuki family included Boten. Hyoma refused to seal the Nagatsuki family since he wants to protect Boten and he sees her as a human. He thinks it's wrong that the leader of the Katamori group would want to kill people like Boten. Then Taiju Katamori got angry for rejecting his offer. He wanted Hyoma as a pawn. So Taiju Katamori tried to force Hyoma to cooperate with him and he attacked him with talismans. Hyoma deflected the attack and accepted the battle challenge from the old man. Meanwhile, Hyoma caught Taiju's daughter interest. Then the old man tried to intimidate Hyoma, saying that despite his experience in fighting, Hyoma doesn't stand a chance against the Tsukumagamis in Kyoto. The reason was that Hyoma's region the Tsukumagamis are weaker as Kyoto's. Only one is very strong, his name is Onyagawara of O, and he thought Hyoma doesn't know the true danger of a Tsukumagami. Then Hyoma learned that the Katamori group made the Tsukumagamis their puppets through talismans and used them as their tools to destroy enemies. When Hyoma was surrounded, the Katamori group prepared to attack Hyoma and he wanted to turn him into a puppet. Tsubaki was then asked if she would like to fight Hyoma as well and she declined. Then the fight of Hyoma started, who easily defeated the Tsukumagami puppets of their group. Then Hyoma used the Kunato weapon, so everyone realized how dangerous it is to fight against Hyoma. But Hyoma was a lot stronger than they thought, he fighting Tsukumagamis since he was 12 years old and by the time he turned 18 years, he defeated a very strong Tsukumagami, that was the Onyagawara of O. So Hyoma was attacked by many Tsukumagamis and he defeated all the puppets attacking him. Then Taiju Katamori summoned another puppet, Hyoma realizing it was Yagen, that he knew before. When she showed up, Tsubaki recalled being told that her father only saw Tsukumagamis as tools and didn't treat them like humans. Then Hyoma was attacked and he only defends against her, because he didn't want to wipe out Yagen. He hesitated in his attacks and was injured as a result by fighting Yagen. Meanwhile, Taiju noted that Hyoma has developed sympathy for Tsukumagamis and that he doesn't ruthlessly attack a familiar face. Taiju couldn't believe the irony that Hyoma's grandpa sent him to the Nagatsukis to learn more about the Tsukumagami and become stronger. He thought it is funny that Hyoma didn't get stronger but weaker as he developed compassion for the Tsukumagamis. So Hyoma dodged Yagen's attacks and didn't attack her. Meanwhile Taiju waited for the opportunity to make him to his puppet. Suddenly, Hyoma was wounded in the face and Hyoma attacked Yagen in the head with his weapon. At that moment, Taiju tried to make Hyoma his puppet, but Hyoma reacted immediately and countered. Hyoma saved Yagen and defeated the Katamori group that impressed Taiju Katamori. Taiju wanted to know why Hyoma saved Yagen and he replied that it was his intuition. His answer made Tsubaki laugh and she stopped their fighting, because she taking a liking to Hyoma. So she threatened her father that if he wanted to keep fighting against Hyoma, she would fight against her father by the side of Hyoma. After that, Taiju lied saying that everything that happened was all just a test to him. He told Hyoma that he wanted to see if Hyoma would be strong enough to exorcise the Tsukumagami in Kyoto City. The naive Hyoma believed everything and the Katamori group were shocked that he believed the old man's big lie. The Katamori group took a liking to Hyoma, and Hyoma was given Tsubaki's phone number, which he could call anytime. Then Yagen was placed in the care of Hyoma. He took her to the Nagatsuki mansion. When Hyoma appeared in front of Boten with tattered clothes and a beautiful woman like Yagen, a big misunderstanding was created. Hyoma then explained to her all about the fight with the Katamori group and that Yagen will be taken to Kunado family tomorrow. The next morning, Hyoma wanted to take Yagen to the Kunados, but before that, Yagen wanted to visit a certain place. Boten accompanied the two and they went to a house where Yagen used to live when she was still a mortar. The reason was she somehow felt connected to this house and had some memories about her owner. Afterwards, Yagen was picked up by members of the Kunado group and Hyoma promised her that she would be treated good by his family group. Yagen then thanked Hyoma for her rescue and his help. Before Yagen left, she made one more comment that Boten is not a normal human. She also warned Hyoma that Boten's power attracts many Tsukumagami. As a result, she wanted Hyoma to protect the kind and lovely Boten besides the danger. On the way home, Boten asked why Hyoma is being so harsh towards Tsukumagamis and he told her about his tragic past. The reason was that his siblings he loved were killed by an evil umbrella Tsukumagami. Therefore, he always thought that all Tsukumagamis are evil. Nevertheless, he learned through the Nagatsuki family that there are also good Tsukumagamis. After that, Hyoma said that he still had to learn a lot and work on himself more, and Boten cheered him up and said that he was already changing his attitude to the Tsukumagamis. In the days that followed, the Katamori group searched for a missing member and they discovered blood that was caused by Sojenbi group. In the morning, Hyoma wanted to go on a mission and Yu got angry at him because she was jealous of him. Meanwhile, the rest of the Nagatsuki family stayed at the mansion and Yu told Hyoma about the assignment. The reason was they were preparing for a fight against the Sojenbi group. They were a very dangerous Tsukumagami group as their vessels were all torture tools. Hyoma learned that in the past, the Seinom of Kyoto had a hard time defeating them. Also, they didn't manage to destroy the whole group. In addition, Hyoma learned that 4 years ago they also took part in the battle. Thereby Kushige strengthened the protection in their home. When they arrived at the meeting point, Hyoma was teased by Tsubaki, who told him that he was working with her today. Hyoma then learned that the two women were friends. When they wanted to discuss their assignment, Aogi appeared. He told them to lead them to their mission location. He explained to Hyoma that the other Katamori group are setting up a radar to look for the Sojenbis. Aogi then led them to an empty house where members of the Sojenbi were staying. Taiju Katamori had a part of the smashed Sojenbi group monitored as well as possible. The Sojenbi group had an agreement that they would not cause problems. Then Aogi wanted to go away as he fully completed his mission. Suddenly, Aogi was attacked because an enemy tried to kill him. Then other members of Sojenbi group appeared. Hikikiri told them that they tortured one of the Seinoms and tried to get information about the Seinoms. After that, they were surrounded by the other Tsukumagamis. Hyoma then decided to wipe out his enemies and they prepared for battle. Aogi didn't want to fight, so Tsubaki used a puppet talisman on him. As a result, he could not control his body and was forced to fight. Then the enemy Tsukumagamis attacked and they didn't hesitate with their attacks. The Sojenbi were happy to fight and thanked Hyoma as he gave them a reason to break the contract. Hyoma didn't care about his words and got ready to defeat his opponents. Meanwhile, Taiju Katamori sealed a henchman of the Sojenbi group and tried to find the leader of the Sojenbi. Aogi then tried to persuade the enemy Tsukumagami to let him go. She insulted him saying that she hates puppets working for the Seinoms. Aogi got angry and he decided to fight her. Meanwhile, Yu and Hyoma fought the other Tsukumagami and Hyoma managed to give Yu an opportunity to attack. Hikikiri was hit by Yu's needle that should seal him immediately, but he managed to break free. The enemy Tsukumagami self-destructed himself and regenerated his wound. He then injured Hyoma with an attack and then he attacked Yu too. Hyoma stand up again and the enemy noticed that Hyoma hasn't give up. He also knew how dangerous his weapons are because they are called Chibiki-Iva and are the door handles that lead to the afterlife. He knew that a direct hit from Hyoma's Chibiki-Iva would cause the end for him. Despite this, he decided to defeat Hyoma, thinking that Hyoma was weakened by his leg injury. Then Hyoma was attacked and he dodged all attacks against him. When it looked like Hyoma was in trouble, Hikikiri realized something was wrong. Tsubaki defeated one of the Sojenbi Tsukumagami and she warned Hikikiri that Hyoma will finish him off. Then Hyoma cut through the chainsaws and Tsubaki felt Hyoma's hatred for the Tsukumagamis. After that, Aogi obliterated his opponent because she was distracted for a moment. So Aogi attacked, Uchiki's layer also thinned, revealing that Uchiki is a woman. In the end only the chainsaw Tsukumagami was left and he reveals his true power. He turned into a chainsaw monster that made you angry and she was ready to show her full power. Before attacking, she tried to wink at Hyoma to signal him to retreat. Following this, you launched her attack on the opponent and Hyoma didn't understand her plan, he charged behind the opponent. Hyoma took the chance and wiped out the enemy Tsukumagami that was flying with a house on him. Hyoma created a path through the house with his weapons. After the fight, Hyoma got a lecture for completely misunderstanding the plan. Hikikiri was defeated and tried to escape with his last strength, but Taiju Katamori knew where the evil Tsukumagami was. He told him he was a loser and he was just playing with him. He then ordered his Tsukumagami puppets to execute the evil Tsukumagami. So Hikiri was sent to the afterlife by Taiju Katamori. Hyoma's mission was completed and he asked Tsubaki about his siblings why she also hunts the umbrella Tsukumagami. Tsubaki told Hyoma that she met his siblings as a child and that she admired his siblings for their talents. Hyoma's siblings were geniuses just like Tsubaki. For this reason, she wants to avenge Hyoma's siblings and she has the same goal as Hyoma, because she wants to kill the umbrella Tsukumagami. She then offered Hyoma to leave the Nagatsuki family and Hyoma was offered to team up with her to hunt Tsukumagami after the screen. You knew Tsubaki's offer was very tempting, but there were key differences between the two. The difference is Tsubaki was a kid, who was gifted with talent and she was stronger than most that she got bored at an early age. For her, taking revenge on the umbrella Tsukumagami is just a game, and she has the same attitude toward Tsukumagami as her father. Then Hyoma considered her offer and he declined. Everyone thought Hyoma would accept her offer, so everyone involved was shocked when he turned down Tsubaki's offer. On the way home, Hyoma explained why he turned down the offer. He swore to himself at his siblings' graves that he would gain physical and mental strength to prevent further tragedy. Also, he wanted to protect Boten from danger and you would slowly change her mind about Hyoma. The next day, Hyoma had to look for a cooking pot with Boten. Hyoma asked if Kushige might have seen it, but he was playing chess with the neighbors. After that, Hyoma also learned that the other Tsukumagamis of the Nagatsuki family get along well with their fellow human beings. Then Hyoma and the Nagatsuki family are seen gathered. Haori wanted to prepare a sukiyaki the day before. Then everyone got an ingredient to get for the sukiyaki. Hyoma and Boten have been tasked with finding the cooking pot. Also Haori give Boten a love plan to seduce Hyoma. Then Boten was nervous about their love plan and Hyoma suggested looking for the pot in the warehouse. Meanwhile, the others did the shopping for the sukiyaki. Haori used her Tsukumagami skills to get meat. You bought vegetables and while shopping she noticed that Hyoma and Boten are alone. She decided to go to their home immediately after her purchase as he was far too caring. Then we see Kagame using her powers to seek out the freshest fish. Meanwhile Suzuri flirted with the fruit seller and was able to buy strawberries at half price. Nagi took care of the liquor and he had to win against the saleswoman drinking liquor. At the warehouse, Boten was nervous about Haori's love plan. She wondered if Hyoma was worrying about their marriage and she was preoccupied with the thought that Hyoma was worried. Then Boten dropped Haori's love plan out of her pocket and Hyoma told him that she didn't have to worry about it. Boten couldn't believe Hyoma didn't react and was so calm. Then she remembered that Hyoma always spoke very formally and when he is nervous. However, Boten wanted to see his face, but Hyoma didn't want to show her his blushed face. He tries to prevent it, but Boten didn't give up and the two stumbled. Then Boten noticed that Hyoma is interested in love and at that moment an angry Yu appeared. You used her powers and sealed Hyoma. Then they learned that the neighbor had their pot. In the evening they had all their errands together and they celebrated Hyoma's moving in and Boten's third year at the university. Then they ate the sukiyaki together and Hyoma didn't allow Kagame to drink alcohol because she is a child. She transformed her body and drank alcohol. Meanwhile, Boten was drunk and fell in his arms, making Nagi and Yu angry at him. Hyoma got her water to drink and he told her that the Nagatsuki family reminds him of his own siblings and that she have a great family. In the days that followed, Hyoma was shopping for special clothes to fight against the Tsukumagamis. He was accompanied on his shopping by Boten. Then Hyoma was seen receiving a magazine sent by the Katamori group a few days before. Hyoma learned that the Katamori group had clothes that were unlikely to be damaged in battle. When Hyoma and Suzuri saw Taiju Katamori on the cover, they were terrified, unable to believe that Taiju was modeling for their magazine. Then Hyoma saw the small print to pick up the clothes personally and also about a test. When Hyoma opened the door, Tsubaki greeted him, who immediately surprised him and took a picture with him. After that, Tsubaki embarrassed Hyoma and Boten, because she asked him if Boten was Hyoma's girlfriend. Then she introduced herself to Boten, and after the greeting Tsubaki showed them the way to where the seinen clothes are made. Hyoma wanted to know about the test that was written in the fashion magazine. When Tsubaki opened a door, a clothing appeared, who rapped on Boten. After that, a handloom Tsukumagami Hata had introduced himself, who made the clothes. Hata explained to Hyoma that seinen clothes are alive and they establish a relationship with the wearer. He then threw Tsubaki her new clothes, and the clothes conformed to Tsubaki's body perfectly. Tsubaki was used with the clothes by produced of Tsukumagamis, but Hyoma didn't want to wear living clothes because he didn't want them on his skin. He then slapped himself in the face and decided to overcome his hatred of the clothes that made of a Tsukumagami. After that, Hyoma was told that he needed to connect to the clothes material. Tsubaki explained to Boten that in order to tame the material, Hyoma must make the clothes either his friend or his servant. Hyoma then made an announcement to the clothes material that he would win his respect with a fistfight. As a result, Hyoma was attacked by the clothes with a huge fist. Hyoma managed to take the punch. Then Hyoma struck with his full power and Hyoma defeated the clothes material. Hyoma made a statement against the clothes material and he managed to tame the clothes material. Later on, Hyoma got his new clothes and Boten learned that his clothes matched the look of his old clothes. Then Tsubaki told her father that she had met Boten, so her father was shocked that Hyoma are very familiar with Boten. Taiju couldn't believe it, because when he first met Boten, he hadn't believed that Boten would ever develop trust in other humans. In the days that followed, Hyoma was seen helping Boten at her university to hang up a sign. Hyoma met Boten's friends and Boten wanted to show Hyoma her university. Suddenly, Boten was picked up by her friend who needed her help, so Hyoma went back to the Nagatsuki mansion alone. Then we see Suzuri and Nagi, who are also at the University of Boten. Suddenly, Nagi spotted Itsuki, one of the 3 great Tsukumagamis of Kyoto. She set her sights on Hyoma, who was on his way home, so she used her powers to imprison Hyoma in another dimension. Then Kai showed up, who was curious to meet Hyoma. Following this, Hyoma fought against Kai and he wondered where he was. Kai wanted to see Hyoma's powers and challenged him to a fight. Hyoma was attacked by Kai, and he remarked that Kai was one of Kyoto's 3 great Tsukumagami. Hyoma had to think about how to fight at Tsukumagamis that had a complete set of an item as a jar. He knew Kai was dangerous and he charged at Kai to defeat him with all his power. Hyoma deflected Kai's attacks with his Chibiki Eva, attempting to obliterate Kai. Then Kai dodged and injured Hyoma by summoning a helm against him. Kai was disappointed that Hyoma is weak and he wanted to kill him if he didn't improve his strengths. Meanwhile, Itsuki encountered Nagi and Suzuri. She threatened to destroy them if they interfered in Kai's fight against Hyoma. Kai called Hyoma weak, and he said that with his current power, he had no chance of defeating the Umbrella Tsukumagami. Hyoma then asked if Kai had any information about the Umbrella Tsukumagami. Kai didn't answer him. Followed, he provoked Hyoma that his hatred isn't that ingrained and that he expected more of Hyoma. Then Hyoma wanted to force an answer by force and he attacked Kai with all his power. So Hyoma punched Kai in the face, but Kai wasn't defeated and he threw him to the ground. Suddenly, Nagi and Suzuri appeared and attacked Kai together by combining their attacks. Then the blades of Nagi and Kai crossed with each other, because Kai was too powerful. Kai had a lot of fun and initially wanted to duel with Nagi, but Nagi knew that he didn't stand a chance against Kai. He also said that they learned all the information about Kai's true intentions by Itsuki. Also, Itsuki tells Kai that his time is up. Suddenly he became paralyzed and he passed out. Hyoma asked Nagi for help as he was stuck on a huge sword. Afterwards, Hyoma learned that Kai only wanted to greet him and he had no intention of killing Hyoma anyway. Also, he had permission to meet Hyoma and Nagi told how surprised he was that Itsuki is extreme weak, because they immediately defeat her. Then Hyoma wanted to know the whereabouts of the Umbrella Tsukumagami, but Kai said he wasn't strong enough at the moment to get an answer to his question. He said that he knew his siblings and that Hyoma is much weaker than them. He also asked why he doesn't use his own weapons instead of his siblings' weapons, even though he can't unleash his full potential with them. Afterwards, Hyoma learned that Boten is the culprit responsible for the appearing of the Umbrella Tsukumagami. Boten unintentionally heard their talk and she was unaware that she was causing the deaths of Hyoma's siblings. Nagi and Suzuri were angry at Kai and suddenly he was paralyzed again because his time with Hyoma was limited. Itsuki then apologized for Kai's harsh words, but said that Kai told the truth about Boten. Following this, the two Tsukumagamis disappeared and Hyoma requested a little time off from his duties in the Nagatsuki family. Suzuri allowed him a vacation, knowing Kai's rumors were bothering him. So Hyoma left the Nagatsuki family for a while and Boten was also shocked by the rumors. In the days that followed, Kagame and Yu worried about Boten because they noticed that Boten was acting strangely. Boten didn't know much about the rumors about herself's past. So she went to Taiju Katamori and wanted to know more about her past. The leader of the Katamori Seinon group remembered Boten as a monster and he was shocked that she turned into an innocent girl. Then Taiju embarrassed Boten because he knew she was worried about Hyoma. Suddenly Hyoma appeared and Boten learned that Hyoma had been training with the Katamori for 3 days. Hyoma wasn't angry about Boten, he just realized from fighting Kai that he was too weak and wanted to become stronger with the Katamori family. After that Hyoma was sent home by Taiju for the time being, since he had already learned almost all of their techniques. So Hyoma was sent home and he went to the Nagatsuki family mansion with Boten. On their way home, Boten said she heard his conversation with Kai. She also told him she was worried about him and thought he was angry with her. Hyoma tells her that he is not angry and he just wants to get stronger to get the answer from Kai. Afterwards, Hyoma learned that Kai wasn't lying when he said Boten didn't trust people. The reason for this was that Boten was kidnapped in her childhood. So Hyoma learned that many humans in Tsukumagami were trying to gain her power. One day she was picked up by relatives and Boten tried to trust her. Suddenly her aunt kidnapped her. Satsuki intended to protect Boten from the Tsukumagamis and she wanted Boten to live happily as a human. Followed Boten lived happily with Satsuki and she always treated Boten lovingly like a mother. Unfortunately, they were always being hunted. So one day Satsuki was killed by evil Tsukumagamis that were after Boten's power. Boten couldn't remember the night exactly, because when she woke up, she was in the Nagatsuki mansion. Ever since that day, Boten hasn't trusted anyone close to her because she's afraid that a loved one will let her down again. Therefore, she has never had a best friend or a person who confides everything in her. Suddenly Hyoma cheered her up. He said that Boten can trust him. He also said that he's a bad liar, so he couldn't betray her. Hyoma's words made her happy and he promised to protect her forever.